when this history, because if I have to take you deep, the history represents how when the Oduduwa took advantage of Obatala's.
Did you say advantage?
Yes, it's an advantage, because if you go to Ife today, that dichotomy is still there.
Whoa,
among the
wow.
Obatala devotees. They don't even relate as such.
Oh, wow.
So, and by virtue of modernity and the roles people like us are playing, we try to mend both.
Mend fences.
Now the Arole Oduduwa, which is your Nidia, the Oduduwas, the Obatala devotees, they wear white and they communicate, they do things in pure and holiness. They have Ella. The Ella is Holy Spirit.
Chinua Achebe was a Nigerian novelist, poet, and critic. He once said, "A man who calls his kinsmen to a feast does not do so to save them from starving. They all have food in their homes. When we gather together in the moonlight village ground, it is not because of the moon. Every man can see it in his own compound. We come together because it is good for kinsmen to do so." Absolutely spot on. Our next quote is from Mary Parker Follett, who is an American management consultant, social worker, philosopher, and pioneer in the fields of organizational theory and organizational behavior. She once said, "Unity, not uniformity, must be our aim. We attain unity only through variety. Differences must be integrated, not annihilated, not absorbed." Okay. Now, next quote is from Malcolm Forbes, who is an American entrepreneur and politician, most prominently known as the publisher of Forbes magazine. He once said, "Diversity, the art of thinking independently together." I love that one too. And our last quote is from Hillary Clinton, an American politician and diplomat who served as the 67th United States Secretary of State under President Barack Obama from 2009 to 2013. She once said, "What we have to do is to find a way to celebrate our diversity and debate our differences without fracturing our communities." Don't you just love this quote? Now let's see how this quote relates to what we will be discussing today. Very warm greetings and welcome to The Conversation. We're reaching you from Kaftan's television studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. Of course, I am Annabelle Oji. The Yoruba people. Africa is home to many cultures and each is distinct in its own ways. In this series, we'll explore the history and traditions of the major ethnic groups in Nigeria and talk about why they have become such a popular topic around the world. But today, we'll begin with the Yoruba history, its art and culture. Humans evolved in Africa. That means that humans have lived in Africa longer than anywhere else, have had more time to develop distinct cultures, and these cultures have had more time to grow, change, and adapt. So, it is not surprising to learn that Africa is one of the most diverse places in the world, home to dozens and zillions of distinct ethnic groups. One of such group which has been gaining international attention for their arts, the music, and role in African history are the Yorubas. The Yorubas are one of the largest African ethnic groups south of the Sahara Desert and have made an impact on sub-Saharan Africa. They are, in fact, not a single group, but rather a collection of diverse people bound together by a common language, history, and culture. Within Nigeria, the Yoruba dominate the western part of the country. Yoruba mythology holds that all Yoruba people descended from a hero called Odua or Oduduwa. Today, there are over 50 individuals who claim kingship and as descendants of Odua. The Yoruba homeland is located in West Africa. It stretches from a savanna, grassland, a region in the north to a region of tropical rainforest in the south. Most Yorubas live in Nigeria. However, there are also some that scattered around Benin and Togo. small countries to the west of Nigeria. The areas of these countries primarily inhabited by the Yorubas are often collectively referred to as Yoruba land. The occupations and living conditions of the Yorubas in the north and south differ sharply. This continent may be ancestral home to all of us, but to the Yorubas, it is still a place they are proud to call home even till today. Now, current census figures are quite difficult to obtain. The Yoruba population is estimated to be around 5.3 million. Now, let's talk about the living conditions of the Yoruba people. Traditional compounds which house clans in Yoruba villages are made up of rectangular country yards, each with single entrance. Around each courtyard is an open or partly enclosed porch. Here, the women sit, weave, and cook. Behind these are the rooms of each adult. But today, the old compounds are rapidly being replaced by modern bungalows made of cement blocks with corrugated iron roofs. Most Yoruba towns, even small ones, have adequate basic services, including electricity, running water, and paved road. Oops. Okay, so I may not be in the best position to tell you more about these great Yoruba people and their culture, but I've got the best man to do justice to this topic of discourse here on The Conversation. And my guest on the show today is Are Barrister Oladotun Hassan, President, Yoruba Council Worldwide, is Yoruba Council of Youth Worldwide, Secretary General, Nigeria Ethnic Nationalities Youth Leaders Council. Ladies and gentlemen, grab a seat with a cup of fresh palm wine with hot atarodo spiced pomo, asun or ejakika, since they've advised us not to take pomo anymore for now. And let's enjoy learning the Yoruba culture. Ẹ̀yin ará ilé, ẹ káàbọ̀ sórí ètò wa. If you just joined us, you've not missed out on a whole lot, but then you can still join in the conversation. As our guest on the show today is Are Barrister Oladotun Hassan, who is the President, Yoruba Council Worldwide. And we're having a spotlight on the Yoruba people. It's great to have you on the show today.
Well, it's a pleasure to be on your program. It's really great to be here.
All right, I'm sure for some of our viewers who actually listen to me speak Yoruba, it's not like I understand any, but I appreciate people's culture. So as we'll be having this series on spotlighting on people's culture and appreciating our unity in diversity, that's why we're first we'll start with the Yoruba culture. So now let's talk about the Yoruba people, but we'll start with the culture and traditions. Tell us what we don't know about Yoruba culture and tradition.
Well, I'll start with Ekaro. I'm great. I want to let you understand that Yoruba has a very rich cultural history, and from your intro, you would have seen how much we're on the world map, and historically, we're referred with as people of common ideology, common culture, common language. And the height of what represents and defines us real before the outside world and internally is our character, which is the resilience, the hard work, the height of application of wisdom in every activities, and that in its all defines Yorubas as Omoluabi. In view of the fact that
before you go ahead, what's the meaning of Omoluabi? Yeah,
Omoluabi is God's own begotten child, maybe somebody reflection after God's own image, after God's own likeness and attitude and character. So, and that's why we are the only race that pride that, because anyone that falls short of that semblance are regarded as outlawed, and we don't really appreciate such. So, in view of the fact that our culture dates back time immemorial, even from the days of the biblical history. That's how far Yorubas are. We have our history in the Bible. We have our history as of Ile-Ife. We have history connected to Benin, to Togo, to Ghana, to Ga people. So, and we are spread all over the world. Our population is over 40 million, not of the Nigeria's population alone. Globally, we are spread in Cuba, in Brazil. We have everything as far as our culture and character. What we are now doing here is to give a defined interpretation of our value. We respect each other, we give room and also respect we have good neighborliness conduct. These are the average character of the Yoruba people. So in whole, we are most loving, we are most kind, we are most accommodating race, and this is one virtue that I, as the president of Yoruba Council Worldwide, which is the umbrella body for all Yoruba descendants, and we hold a very high respect to our distinct royal fathers, being led by Arole Oduduwa Olofin Ademola, Ooni Adeyeye Nitogunsi, Kabiyesi the Ojaja II, who is the overlord of, for on behalf of all Yoruba race, the spiritual head of all Yoruba race, gives directive, gives coordination, and you can see from the outgo is somebody who represents peace, development, and nation building. Especially, it shows from where we stand, and by virtue of history, if you look at Awolowo, about Macaulay Ajayi Crowther, Yorubas have this large art of representing all and not so self-centered. We don't have a self-centered or coined around, interest. We have this good neighborliness spirit. So in whole, I've been able to take you around and who we are, what we represent, how best we tend to let our present generation and the generation yet unborn to continue in upholding that virtue from Oluwabi.
Awesome. So now, before you continue, I hear you talk about the Ooni of Ife.
Yes.
So we've heard this. I'm trying to find the right word. I don't want to use argument. I'm trying to find the right word. But I've always had this discussion that, is it first, when you have to start looking at who heads first, is it from the Ooni of Ife or the Oba of Lagos or the Olubadan? How's the hierarchy like?
Well, let me get you done on that, because historically in Ile-Ife we have the Oduduwa dynasty, we have the Obatala dynasty, we have the Obamaki or Sogongon in Ile-Ife. That is age-long history. These are descendants. The first Ile-Ife, that is the first Oba in Ile-Ife, is Obatala. This is the 51st Oni. So, and the histories are there. By virtue of the role of the Arole Oduduwa, meaning the seat which on his seat is the Arole, meaning is the heir apparent for and on behalf of Oduduwa.
Okay. And
Oduduwa himself gave birth to kings, and so many people left Ile-Ife with their crowns and all that. But from his own descendant, we have the Oromiyan, who is a descendant from the root of the Oduduwa. And this, to many, an Oromiyan stool gave birth to the Alaafin of Oyo.
Oh,
so,
okay.
So
okay.
the Oluwo stool also is from Ile-Ife. So majority, the stool of the Oba of Lagos is a descendant through the Benin Eweka descent of the same Oromiyan from Ile-Ife. So we have this connect of no one can tell our history without mention of Ile-Ife as the source of all mankind. So visiting Ile-Ife, you will learn what culture really represents. Till date, from time immemorial till date, nothing changes in respect of how much they value dates, how much they celebrate cultural values. We have the Olojo Festival, we have the Omoluabi Festival, which we also do every 1st of May. We have the Obatala Festival, we have the Oduduwa Festival. So in all fairness, even you have the Moremi Festival. So there is a whole lot of mind-boggling programs, cultural heritage that tourists takes advantage to visit. If you go to Ile-Ife, you see the Oromiyan there, which is also in Ile-Ife. You see the Oketase, you see the different thing. And from Ile-Ife, if you go to Ikogosi, if you go to Ikiti, if you go to Oyo, you get to Abeokuta, you see the Olumo Rock. These are historical values and virtues that the Yoruba people hold in high esteem. So, and So many, it has now become, it's already just taken a global, we've registered a global representation in the entire global world now. And you see people learning Yoruba. You see people coming from Cuba, from Brazil to learn our culture, to learn Ifa, to learn, these are...
Oh, so you can actually learn Ifa. I thought Ifa was like a god.
No. Ifa, in Yoruba parlance, is the mythology that direct mankind.
Okay.
Is the directory, is the voice and template of God's own representation to mankind. That is route whereby you communicate. Just like every religion has their modus operandi, they have their ethos. For Ifa theology or mythology, it's all about the coordination, well represented, and it's always apt, and it has the Odumere, the logo, it has the Ejiobe, for every Ifa chronicle in terms of what each represents, for every towns and villages, as far as Lagos is concerned, as far as their warriors are concerned, their representation of Ifa discerning. There is nothing that is, as far as the Ile-Ife is concerned, there is no way in Yoruba land that Ifa is the establishing code that gives birth to anything you want to do. Just in Yoruba land, if they give birth to a child, they will say, okay, Dekawo Akoseja, meaning let's look at the destiny of that child. Does it really need to get married to a lighting couple?
Oh, wow. So you can actually do that.
That's what you
see
do.
People's destiny.
Yes, definitely. So that coordinates people. So for you, your destiny can say, you can be eating okra. Another person's destiny does not even warrant such. So
that means stay away from okra.
Yeah, not everyone, depending on what your destiny is for you. And for every code of destiny, like my person to have an Ifa mythology that gave birth to me.
Okay, so what's it?
So mine is Ejiobe, and we have, and that is the apex of all Ifa oracle, and it gives rise to, from that point, your kind of trait, just like the zodiac signs. There are a lot of things that revolves around each birth, in terms of what you to do, how what's going to come in the future, how what you have to attain. So naturally, if those things beginning to come to pass, it's how much you are able to follow the warnings, the intrigues of your growing up. So, and that is how Yoruba people live. No matter how you see the Yoruba man, no matter how Christian or Islamic they are, they still at one hand value their own background and culture.
All right, so because we like to take social media questions later on in the show, but I will take it first because I saw a particular trend or argument on social media some time ago where you have Pete Edochie, who is a veteran in the movie sector, and then you had a particular gathering that had him and then the Ooni of Ife, and then people started arguing on social media saying that why would Pete Edochie, who is also a high chief in Igbo land, why would he shake Ooni of Ife instead of prostrate when he sees Ooni of Ife? And then I saw a question and someone asked, so when the Ooni of Ife and you have the Oba of Lagos, when they come together, who is supposed to prostrate, who is supposed to shake at this point?
Well, if you want to eulogize the Ooni of Ife, they call him Oba Tingba Idobale Oba, meaning is a king that accepts the prostrate of other kings.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
In Ife today, no matter how your kingship, royalty, and all that, they prostrate
to the Ooni of Ife.
Before. That's the only soul. But in value, based on civilization, based on cultural affinity and mutual respect, and the approach of leadership, every king has his own demeanor on how to relate with people, and you see, the Ooni is a father to all. He's a harbor that accommodates every religion, every tenet.
And this is regardless
culture,
of age, right?
Regardless of age. Even if Papa Obasanjo is going to see the Ooni, you see him prostrate. If Baba...
even the current president.
Yes, even the current president, everybody prostrate because that is the stool, not the age of the man on the stool.
Oh, great.
So,
awesome.
because that is how valuable we cherish our culture.
Okay.
So, and even if Afe Babangida gets there, no matter how rated you are, coming there is for you to just humble yourself. But some certain people, out of cultural lag, out of their own interest, like, oh, let's just play it low and let's just flow with the trend. So if the Peter Odeche is giving an handshake, but maybe on the semblance of the environment, on the semblance of what the situation and the environment entails, that can happen.
Okay.
But in Yoruba land, is expected to prostrate. It's expected. That is, it's not even a no. It's not that does not need further proof that he is expected. But you can't hold it against them when you see some people not doing as you expect them. But for value's sake and for history, so that people don't repeat that as a recurrent decimal. Anyone, no matter how highly placed you are, you remove your cap, then you prostrate before the Ooni, no matter how highly placed. The only people that are allowed to still are the kings or some level of high chiefs that we have in Ile-Ife. There are some traditional stakes that don't remove their caps. But as far as any chief that you have, no matter how highly placed, you kneel down as a woman and you prostrate. And that is our culture. And that's how much we train ourselves from the family, from the home front. So you see an average Yoruba man, you go out, they will tell the child, Dobale, Oyakule. In other culture, they don't see it as valuable. But in Yoruba land, a growing home that respects and gives virtue and high premium to the Omoluabi character and growing up, from the family ethos of you building the home, how you respect, how you greet, how you respond. In Yoruba land, even when we are growing up, our parents, but if you go to parties and they don't want you to just do anything, just looking at you and smiling, you already get the message. Not
exactly.
Because that is the conduct of body of you understanding the perception of your environment. So and that is how best you can quickly get and identify a true Yoruba sons and daughters. So for us, we just love ourselves, we love our people, and we love our culture.
You have actually talked about, I was going to talk about the greeting part, because I always see how much you see some people who are highly placed in the society, and immediately they see an older person, they just go straight on the floor to greet them. So now let's leave the greeting custom, since we've been able to acclimatize ourselves with that, and talk about the language, the different dialects. In some point you go to a part of the country or a part of the state, and then they'll tell you they're speaking something different. Some people will say, I think I've heard they say some is Takba, some is Ogun, so different kinds of Yoruba dialects. Talk to us about this.
We just like in every world culture, there is semblance of ethnic affinities to where an area of your location, and that defines language, tone, and that also talks about dialects. We have the Ijebu dialects, as in Ogun State. We have over 12 dialects within Ogun State.
Just Ogun
Ijebu, the Egba, even amongst Ijebu, there are still other.
Oh, wow.
In Ondo, you have the Owo. You have even in Lagos, you have the Awori. The way the Awori speak Yoruba is different from the way the Saleko speaks Yoruba. The way the Ogun people speaks Yoruba. The way the Ga people from Ghana speaks Yoruba. The way the Trinidad and Tobago, the Yorubas are there. The way they speak the Brazilian, the way they speak. So, but the major thing is that you never take off that understanding perspective of, oh, Ekaro, Okuro, this, the way they greet each other might be different, but our characters and honor and the modus operandi are almost really
So is it actually possible for I've heard someone who was saying something, she said, Omi relemi, and then someone from Lagos was asking, oh, what was that again? So I was asking, is she not speaking Yoruba?
No, they are deep accent of Yoruba, deep, even as we are seated as Yorubas now, That is, you know, the intonation and the dialect of that person might be from Ile-Ife. They speak a deeper language, just like you are speaking English and you want to speak Queen's English and you want to just still speak vernacular, but everybody has their own barriers and of understanding each other. But the major thing is the fact that this is what defines us. That is how God has placed us. Yes, and in Yoruba land, what the way we are being represented, we call ourselves Omo Kaaro Ojire.
Okay.
Not even because the Yoruba world is how we're being. It's a reflection of how the Northern in Tapa used to call from your history, call us Yòrúba, because that's the way they can best interpret us. But we amongst ourselves, we call ourselves Omo Kaaro Ojire, and that's why when we greet ourselves in the Yoruba Council worldwide, we say Yoruba ni mi, Omo Kaaro Ojire, meaning this is where good morning, and no matter how the day we've always have the faith that the day is bright, fair, and great. So we're never pessimistic or negative minded when we are telling ourselves, and that is the way we define ourselves. So, and this is the faith that has bound us together. We no matter how religiously placed that you may be or you are, you still find that round table of you getting the Yoruba virtues, which is a different species of virtue. No matter how the entire biblical virtues that it defines what God really wants of mankind, it's all represented in our history without reading the books, because that is what traits that
looks like you're already going into my next question, because I was actually going to talk about where the cities where you can find them, but you said in Brazil, in Trinidad and Tobago. But now because you've talked about God, let's talk about religion. The Yoruba religion. What is the major religion that you find in Yoruba land?
The Yoruba are of varying mythology, just as I've rightly said. Obatala, we have devotees in variable area of interest. The devotees for Ogun worshippers, devotees for Ifa, Babalawo, and their own kind of trainings, and their devotees are also different. We have the Oshun, who worship the goddess of the water, the seas, and the ocean. That is the Oshun. So every firmament that God creates for the existence of mankind have stake and Orisha in Yoruba land. And these are not taboo, just the way we have been seen. But these are firmament that adore God. No matter how a Babalawo wants to start his prayer, he will first give that ultimate worship to God Almighty. No matter how the Islamic person wants to start his prayer, he gives his adoration to God Almighty. Meaning the same God that exists in firmament, that the same God the Yoruba people adore. So, and we hold God in high esteem. So in everything that you see an average Yoruba man before 1 or 2 times, Yorubas are always putting God in all their conversation, in everything, because that is next to us. That is the next thing that you can ever think about. That's the only thing that revolves. But in all these variables, we hold our Isheshe. In Yoruba land, we call what is called Isheshe. Isheshe lagba, Isheshe eni, leseni, meaning your cultural value, your antecedents, where you are from,
the history.
That your history, that is your religion. In Yoruba, that is where we take it. No matter where, from the people of Arabia now, their culture is part of what you learn. If you go there, their language is part of the Quranic verses that you read, and it forms part of the Arabian culture. So, and that's what they want the world to appreciate. If you go to Israel now, you begin to learn how to worship, how to in all fairness, there are similarities of religious etiquette, how people bow down and put their head. If you go to some churches, you still see they bow down head. You go to mosques, they bow down. You go to, everybody bows down head. These are relative religious tag, whereby that holds us together. So in all, I've just begun to let you know that yes, Isheshe is our mode of worship, but we have different devotees from Obatala devotees. In Ile-Ife today, I'm the Obala Aje Obatala Agbaye in Ile-Ife, and I'm the traditional secretary and legal advisor to the Obatala Agbaye temple in council in Ile-Ife. So, you know, in hierarchy, I'm also a high crown head in Ile-Ife too.
Okay.
Different from the fact
but
that.
But I see that your name, you have Hassan, so it means that you can also be a Muslim too.
Yeah, no, every family have a history. My family background is from a Muslim background. That doesn't take off from who we are as a people.
So tradition before the religion.
Before the religion.
Okay, so we actually do for a break, but before we go on that break, because we're talking about the gods, and then let's talk about the folklores, the monument, the deities, and then because according to Yòrúba creation myth that I read, the deities, that's the gods, originally lived in the sky with only water around them, and then they said Ọlọ́run, that's the sky god, gave to Orishala, and then that's the god of whiteness, and then you have a chain and a bit of earth in a snail shell and 5-toed chicken. He told Orishala to go down and create the earth. Then Orishala approached the gate of heaven. He saw some deities having a party, and he stopped to greet them, and then he offered them palm wine, and he drank too much and then fell asleep. Then Odua, his younger brother, saw Orishala sleeping. He took the materials and went to the edge of heaven, accompanied by chameleon, and then he let down the chain and climbed down it, and then Odua threw the piece of earth on the water and placed the 5-toed chicken upon it. The chicken began to scratch the earth and spreading around all its direction. Please give us that's a bit of what I read online.
Yeah,
so help us demystify this.
Yes, because that is the Yoruba history. That is the folklores of what comes from generation to generation. Just like we have to read in the Bible, when God was creating heaven and earth, the earth was formless without void. That is history of how the Bible taught us this. If you go to Islam too, you see the same history of how earth was formed. And we've had different formative existence of mankind. The first creation, when God cleared from the Noah Ark and all that. In Yoruba too, there is a sojourn of how we all come from Adam and Eve. There is a sojourn of how God, in the then days, God communicates to man. Not now that man is far from God through sins and through our physical attributes and all that. But in then days, what the Ife history just informed, the Orishala is the Obatala that I'm talking about now. That is the first king in Ile-Ife.
Okay.
That's the and the fact that the Orishala and the Obatala people don't drink palm wine is as a result of what palm wine cost the Obatala, because the Obatala are expected to be the apex controller of all Yoruba heritage. But the fact that Oduduwa is also within the same conclave of mankind existence as far as Yoruba history, took advantage of, just like when God allowed Adam to sleep and created Eve out of her. The same mode was the same mode of mankind, of how man was created, is also in the Obatala dynasty. We were never formed like this, according to the Obatala. That is the Orumila, that is Obatala, is the molder of mankind in the then days. Man used to be like a log of wood. But when this history, because if I have to take you deep, the history represents how when the Oduduwa took advantage of Obatala's.
Did you say advantage?
Yes, it's an advantage because if you go to Ife today, that dichotomy is still there.
Oh,
among the
wow.
Obatala devotees. They don't even relate as such.
Oh, wow.
So, and by virtue of modernity and the roles people like us are playing with men, try to mend both.
Mend
because
fences.
now the Arole Oduduwa, which is your Nidia, the Oduduwas, the Obatala devotees, are they wear white and they communicate, they do things in pure and holiness. They have Ella. The Ella is Holy Spirit. You have the Orumila. The Orumila is like what the way we define, sorry to say to the Christian people, they might not get it right, but that's the way we represent Jesus Christ. That's the same way they represent Orumila. Olodumare is the God in his supreme being. So no matter how all this firmament, all this introduction of how we came about, you still see a resemblance of how man till date, how came to be.
So then are you trying to say, because I recall you said that even the Bible talked about how the earth was formed when it was void and out of nature, light and all, and then even the Quran also talked about it, and then you also talk about the traditional part. So are you saying that they're different or they're still the same thing?
Well, from the angle of however you pick your history, there will always be the first layer of people that battered every particular area. No place is occupied without people migrating and moving into those places. However that place is created, there is a modicum of spirituality in everything. We are all spiritual before we represent our physical realm.
All right,
in Yoruba land, we hold spirituality in creation of all mankind in our esteem. So we corroborate it with facts and figures. So just as I rightly said, the history of how you represent it there is just the way it is, and that's the way the Yoruba people value each other. But the unity is still amongst us from there. So
let's put a pin right there and go on a quick break. And when we return from this quick break, we'll continue this conversation on appreciating our unity in diversity as we're talking about the Yoruba culture. I'll see you later. Join us again.
There's a model of atonement of that land, which are secretive to those that are meant to participate. And in Yoruba land, we give higher stakes to men than the women. Not that we don't hate our mothers or our females. No, we give respect to them. They also have their own specific role and deities, and there are some specific orisha that as a man you cannot even go near. That are mostly female oriented, the Oshun and all that. These are Oya, these are women inclined. The Shango is both men and women. And everybody that devoted into all these areas, from the Egungun and all that, are what made our culture who we are. So, and everybody, and this, you can't take it away from us. It's been part of us, and it will continue to be part of our growing up.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, this is The Conversation. We're reaching you from Kaftan's television studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. If you just joined us, you've actually missed out on a whole lot. In fact, the best part of the show. But then we'll still go straight to the more interesting part of the show. As my guest on the show this morning is Are Barrister Oladotu Hassan, who is the president, Yoruba Council Worldwide. All right, before we went on that break, we've actually talked about quite a number of things. But now, let's go straight to the major sports or the major sporting events that you find in amongst the Yoruba people.
Yeah, the Yoruba call the Ere Itage, Alo Aparo. Those are kind of socials, the hospitable social life that the sports. We have the Ayo, we have the Ayo Lopo, we have the dance festival, which are also sports in nature. We have the Gidigbo, meaning the fighting like wrestling, right? We have the, that's to show you how strong you are. So
and that one is whose back first touched the ground.
Yes. So it's a very, and these are very lovable sports that are still there till date, and there are some sporting fact that they are new trend of sport, but this to us, these are valuable sports that we hold in high esteem, and you're still there today. The Ayolokmo is more like chess. It clears your mind, it brightens you, it gives you this calculative intelligence. That is like you're building your intelligence fulcrum and how to do things. So it's not just because they just want to play those draft or the Ayolokmo. It's more like chess that gives you, it brightens your horizon on how to relate, how to be calculative, how to do things. So the way we relate through our sport, that's the same way we relate through with ourselves in Yoruba land.
Okay.
Everybody is calculative, everybody presumptuously looking at what's to be the next day. If it is for you to go through Ife, you have to know what's happening to you, if you have to do things. So divinely, we adore all these as part of our growing culture. And we've thank God, we really thank God that we've achieved in a whole more. Thank God that, thank goodness the current president is a Yoruba man. You see how much Yoruba mythology affected his belief that Emilokon, that is the fate of an average Yoruba man.
I'm not sure we want to go to that Emilokon because a lot of people it was politicized at some point.
I'm coming, don't wait. I'm only talking about ourselves, about our people, about what we hold to ourselves. Every Yoruba man have that force of intuition to communicate, and that's what breeds us globally as a foremost race. So it's not bringing the political angle to every of our discourse, but understanding the perspective of who we are as a people. Every characters of the individual have their own separate individual character, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and you can always take it either you like it or not. That is the way the world is being shaped. But for us, for the essence of this conversation, is to showcase the fact that the Yorubas are all encompassing in valuing ourselves, in giving respect, and we don't take things with greed or with force or anything. If anything does happen, it comes naturally. And we are a race that is very, just as I introduced in the beginning, we are most accommodating race. We accommodate Igbos, Hausa, Fulani, and we are friends to the global world. So I believe that this are value that you yourself you can be very proud of, and for however you may see from fact that you from this program, I'll take you up as honorary Yoruba lady.
All right, so like I said, let's just not talk about the Emilokon part because it was highly politicized with the election, and then you have a lot of people who decided to interpret it in other ways and say it has to be being self-centered, and then you saw all that happened during the election in Lagos, and then you had that. Let's just enjoy appreciating the Yoruba culture.
Let me correct that impression, because if you don't correct the impression, we are only talking about the faith, the resilient spirit of an average Yoruba man. Just like the way I'm coordinating several other groups as I sit here. If I don't have a belief in the capacity of what I'm doing, who will trust you with your duties? No one. So you must first of all take responsibility of respecting yourself, of giving yourself a direction. If you fail to lead yourself, you can't lead others. So that is the character. We must have a take home in every situation. Every situation should not just be blanket with the hatred or the scenario it all brings. But we're not going to get into the in-depth analysis of every issue. So we're just trying to pick points. So my own pointer here is the faith that you can also have a belief in yourself, and that's what the Omoluabi represent. You must have hardworking spirit, you must be resilient, you must have faith in your capacity, and you must develop a good character to that effect. So, but in all fairness, you can't be good to all. You must only just be good to those that value you and that sees goodness in you, and that's what life is all about.
All right, let's move on. Let's see how we can actually manage the next few minutes that we have. While growing up, I actually grew up in Lagos, and then there's this I don't want to call it a myth, but then there was this story we heard when we used to learn Yòrúba language, and then they tell us that because you mentioned the Osun River, and then I recall that at some point they told us that when you get a glass cup of water and you put the Osun River inside, I think it's the River Oyo or something, and you put it inside, the glass cup will just break because there's a war between these two rivers. Is that a myth or a fact?
No, those are folklores.
Ah.
Yes, you just, there are some folklores that are just there, just like tortoise is clever, this is there. There are some, even sometimes, so if you bring the Omi Okun and Omi Osa together, the entire place will become and all that. But that's not to the reality of, these firmament. I call them firmaments because they are there, they are created, they are handiwork of God. The Osun River, the Ogun River, the seas, everything are handiwork of God, and they represent God's own likeness. They speak, they are spirit. So not that people that appreciate those goodness in those deities are taboo. No, it's not a taboo. This is our history. If you go to China today, go to India, you see them with Hindu, Chinese. They value their culture. They whatever they need to do. They even out of technology, they still add their culture. Look at the UK Prime Minister today. You still see him tying the red thing. Meaning he holds his culture in mind. We are the one that look at our culture with disrespect, and we demean ourselves by priding other people's culture above what is supposed to be. But the fact that the most important aspect of mankind is love, is self-respect, and you have to be hardworking. So you have to really show, because you being hardworking is God's own direction, a directive that all man must hit out of their labor. So that's all these things are interwoven to each other. So there is no way you can take away God in every existence of what we are saying. And all these firmament are real. Whatever you do through them, that doesn't demean the image of God or demean the likeness of other religion or the respect you give to others. It's just a misfit mindset that people are having to begin to cast aspersion and making themselves above, even more judgmental, and taking the role of God. Oh, don't do this. Our religion is the best. Without this, you can't do it. These are religious fanaticism and war that have taken space in our existence, and it's really causing global nuclear war. Is causing a lot of attrition in the spaces. So for many, this is to letting our people understand. If you go to the Igbo culture today, they still hold their culture in high esteem. Go to the Hausa today, they still hold their Rankadede culture in high esteem. So this is who we are. You can't take it away from. That's the way God designed us. And we are going to still be the way God designed us. The only thing we have to add up is the Omoluabi virtue, meaning you have to place yourself according to God's own likeness, according to God's own image and virtues.
So now let's talk about quite a number of things we need to talk about, but let's see how we can manage our time. But let's talk about the Yoruba food, their best drink, and then the significance of kola nut and palm wine.
Well, the significance of kola nut and palm wine, there is an Odu Ife, meaning an Ifa oracle that represents kola nut as the interpreter of divinities, of language, of how God communicates. We have the Opele, we have the kola nut, that is, we have the Orobos and all this. This you can use it to communicate, you can use it to do prayers.
The Orobo, is it the
bitter cola? Okay. Yes. All these have replication on how you communicate. If you want to do a prayer of your, or maybe you want to do a special prayer now that, Lord Boreal, go and pray to your destiny. They bring up Obi, Atare, Adun, Oyi, meaning honey,
pepper. Yeah, that
and
those
all this.
small ones.
This whole thing have representation to our spirituality. So Yorubas represent all these physical things to pray, and God listens. God gives immediate answers to those things that you do. All you just need, which is the same, is faith. You must be able to strong. Even if you attend church, if you don't attend church, if you have strong faith in yourself, you achieve. That is the world, the way life is built around. So, and let's leave that side and come to our food.
The food, the best part I like.
Also, like food is another culture that makes us who we are. The very first thing that makes man exist in life today is food, and 3 things that make man to exist is food, shelter, and clothing. So if you take away this, man is animal. Maybe we'll just be eating grass and taking anything, but the way our food, amola, gbegiri, ewedu, kokore, and there are some specific foods to some specific towns and villages.
Okay.
We have the Ofada rice. These are people of Ofada. That is their home manner with the ata sauce and the pomo and all this. In Yoruba we have the iru pete. Now these are the sauce that makes us who we
And I
are.
noticed that these iru, they are of 2 different types.
Yes, the iru wuru and the iru pete. The iru pete, you mostly find it in ewedu and all that. But the iru wuru, you find it in kokore, some other foods and it gives a lot of preservative to your food. One, it make you understand feel the taste, the real taste of that food. You get it through that iru. Iru is like our modern day Maggi that we're having now.
Yes.
So, and this is who
That's
we are.
locust bean.
Yeah,
for those who don't know
bean.
what
So
iru is.
this is who we are, and it's not limited to the Yoruba people alone. Igbo people use it. Everybody globally, it's there. So how do we, and by our advancements in life, we've been able to, we are growing to understand that our food are best sold as our food are now part of world culture food that people value. No Igbo man want to come into anywhere, even across Abuja now, you see different amala sports and everybody, meaning you don't need to be a Yoruba man before you love amala. That is,
definitely.
You must
I love
the
amala
taste,
so
you must savor. That is who we are. And this represents us in a whole great number of landmarks.
Great. All right, so now let's talk about, like I said, we have quite a number of things to talk about, but now let's talk about dressing. About dressing, the caps, the beads, and I'd like you to join them together. So we'll talk about the dressing, the caps, the beads, and all, and they will also talk about masquerades. I know that in some parts you have different types of masquerade. You have the your festival, you have... Put us through all this.
You're just bringing everything as radical, and I love the way you present all this, and to educate all minds out there that the dressing and the dress sense of a Yoruba man, from the buba, shokoto, ofi, we have what is called ashofi, we have what is called ashoke, we have what is called, all these are. We have teru, we have the, in the olden days.
Of Yoruba?
Yes,
because I know that
it's from Abeokuta. This is Abeokuta style of clothing.
Okay, so that is different from some other states.
Yes, in Oyo now we have the ofi, we have the ashoke, so in Egba the same way. So, but that is who we are, and that still forms part of. Go to the lifestyle Judy Oba. You see our dresses. You see everybody have this class of dressing. This egbe, that is meaning communal dressings. The way there are drums. Everything in Yoruba land, the shekere, everything represents who we are, and that now brings about the issue of masquerade, the issue of Eyo, and these are historical to towns and villages. All these things we are celebrating as part of our masquerade are what hold us and bind us in the olden days. And some specific traditions and festivals like the Gunuko is from Takpa. We have the Sangbeto from Badagry. We have the Egun Jebus. We have the Oros. We have the Agemo from Ijebu-Ode. These are real masquerade. These are, if you go to Lagos Island, you see Shopono, Opolo, different masquerade. And when you come to see the Eyo festival, you just love us by irradiating the atmosphere, by the way they chant, by the way they speak. You come out of. Are
women supposed to be at your festival? Because I know that's Oro. They say women are not supposed to show up at all.
No, the Oro is different from Oro too. Is another deity. Is a deity that cleans the land when there are problems and challenges in the land. That is overnight. You know, Oro comes out at night. Just like you go to churches for vigil, you pray, you cleanse, and you do every other thing at night. But best of time for prayers is at night. Even the Yoruba people, when there are crises, or there is a plague in the land, or there is an issue of mass deaths, or all this, there is a model of atonement of that land, which are secretive to those that are meant to participate. And in Yoruba land, we give highest stakes to men than the women. Not that we don't hate our mothers or our females. No, we give respect to them. They also have their own specific role and deities, and there are some specific orisha that as a man you cannot even go near. That are mostly female oriented, the Oshun and all that. These are Oya, these are women inclined. The Shango is both men and women. And everybody that devoted into all these areas, from the Egungun and all that, are what made our culture who we are. So, and everybody, and this, you can't take it away from us. It's been part of us, and it will continue to be part of our growing up.
All right, if you can help us, our time is fast spent, but then we have just, if you can help us in 1 minute and 30 seconds, put together what are the major holidays in Yoruba land, and then the major trade that you definitely find with the Yoruba people. And then secondly, tell us about the greetings, the praise singing rather, the eulogies,
the Ewi. You know, the way we have just represented all your questions from the way I started, that we are good traders. We trade in farmlands, we sell cocoa. You know, like in Ogun State, they sing Ishe, meaning that's our core area of who we are. Hunting, farming, and all this are part of who we are. The greetings, Ekaro, Ekaso, Ekale, Eku Ashale, Eku Daleta, Eku this, meaning for every hours of the day there is Iyaleta. Maybe when it's already getting to 10 in the morning, that's Iyaleta, to 12. When it's getting to noon, it's also. When it's already evening, it's Irole. When it's at night, it's at night. When it's in the early hour of the morning, Ijukutukutu Owuro. So every specific time is embedded on greetings. Then when you now come to who we are, definitely Yorubas are Omo Karojiri, Omo Dudua, Omo Batala. Then that is the way we eulogize ourselves. So like if you want to collect, if you want to get, as in swell Oriki, someone up, those kind of praise singing that you do. Yes. How do you do it? Just like you just want to praise sing a lady that you just want to approach. You give her all the necessary. Give us some so that our viewers would learn. like in the if you are greeting some people in part of, they will call them Omo Eluku Mede Mede. In Ijebu, you greet them Ijebu Omo Alare. That is the way. If you want to make a Ijebu man head swell up now, begin to spray you money, just call him Omo Ijebu Omo Alare. So, and they value, there is a way we greet us. The ideology of each town differs. If you see the way our kings, the way different kings and from different home, there are different Orikis. From different villages and towns, there are
And I also
different
heard that there are
Orikis.
different names for different people, because you hear some name, Oyetola, they'll just tell you straight where this person is from.
No, it's by virtue of the existing situation of when that child is born and the family lineage. Sometimes from the Egun family, you see them bearing Oje. From the Oshun family, you see them bearing Oshuntola. From Ogun's family, you see them bearing Ogun, Ogun Fumini, Ogun Fuminiri, Ogun Lano. This from from Ifa family, you see them Ifa Shola. So these are names that you can never take away from us. And you have Fayemi is from Ifa name. So these are who we are. And it's the beat goes on and on. So you can never stop loving the Yoruba people. You can never stop loving our culture. And we as a people, we pride our culture with respect, with great privilege, with great prestige. And as I am, I implore everyone, be good ambassadors as Yorubas. Maintain that Omoluabi ethos. Shy away, shun prostitution, drugs, corruption. These are things I want our people to begin to shun off and take up that resilient spirit, that hardworking spirit that we are renowned to be. And this is not just for the Yorubas now. This goes to say to all Nigerians, so everyone, that this is the best way you can live and be loved.
Right. Wow, what a fine way to end the conversation. Thank you so much, Are Barrister Oladotun Hassan. It's been a wonderful time learning.
Same here. It's a great
Yoruba
pleasure
culture
to be here.
All right, viewers. Wow, I'm sure you must have been wowed, especially when you have to learn to appreciate our unity in diversity. It's been a wonderful time having this conversation with Are Barrister Oladotun Hassan, and he's the president of Yoruba Council Worldwide. I'm sure you must have been rightly educated, entertained, and informed. Like I said, it's a series that we've started already. So every other week we'll take one ethnic group or one city at a time. Be ready. We're coming to your neighborhood and to your village. I'll see you again next time. My name is Annabelle Oji. God bless you and yours, and God bless Nigeria.